Hi, welcome to Demo Garage. I'm Steven, and in today's episode, I'll be starting part 2 of my RV trim repair on the roof line. And if you remember, I've damaged my roof line and I'm in the middle of repairing it. And in this part, I'm going to be covering the forms that I have made and the actual straightening of the actual trim. So come along with me and let me show you how I do that. Okay, so here's the next step. I went up there and I put a piece of cardboard on this edge and I traced it out and did a little CAD, cardboard aided design. So now I have matched this curvature, made some marks. So the next step is for me to take this cardboard and lay it out onto some particle board and make it form. And I've made a mark somewhere around here that equates to somewhere around here. And then in the area that it's damaged right here, I've made a couple of marks that you can't see because it's on the inside here. So the idea is I'm gonna make a particle board frame and I'm gonna be able to set up the extruded, bent aluminum frame, and I'm gonna be trying to tap it back into place along this edge that's in the damage zone. So next step is I'm going to transfer this onto some particle board and I'll bring you back when I have something to show you. Okay, so I got a cheap piece of particle board, cut it in half so that when I glue these and screw these together, then I'll have the thickness that I want for the mold. And I've got a few of the indications transferred. So this is where my damage area is. And then this is where 24 inches this way straight is a mark that I can find to set up the extruded portion. And boom, there's the bad area right there. So if I double up these, then I'll have the right thickness. And of course, that's transferred from my CAD, cardboard aided design. So the next step is to cut this guy out. And then I'll probably, I'll cut that one and then cut this one close, and I'll probably glue and screw them together and then use a like a finish router with a flush cutting bit so that the bottom one matches the top one. So I'm going to do that off screen, but I'm just going to use probably a jigsaw, get it close, and then dial it in by hand with some sanding, palm sander, and I'll bring you back. I got something interesting to show you. All right, bring it back. Okay, here are the two pieces of particle board doubled up. Now I'm going to run a flush bit cutter so that this top one, so the bottom one matches the top one. I've got it, top one the way I like it. It's glued in. And then, yep, so I'm going to take a little bit. I'll probably run a jigsaw over that so I'm removing less material. But yeah, so I'm getting closer. I'll bring it back. Okay, so there it is. I've double thick with the particle board and I've transferred that radius over between the top and bottom with the finish router. Got my important marks, so I'm damaged from here to here, and this mark's going to help me figure out where on the extrusion I need to set this up. And my thought is I'm going to stick it in the big vise, and I'm going to start playing around, seeing if I can straighten that guy out. Like I said maybe in an earlier clip, I've got some paint that I think is a pretty good match. I'm not too worried about the paint. I'm going to sand it and prime it and paint it again. So we'll see how well I can straighten that guy out, and I'll bring you back in another clip. Okay, so here's my chain key setup. I've got Got everything kind of supported. Got the form in my vise. Kind of wish I had extended the curve a little bit further, but it is what I've got for now. I'll work with it. I think as I go along, straighten stuff out, I'm going to go ahead and try screwing into this particle board. There's a couple in there. The major damage is right there, but there is a little bit of straightening out to be done up here, which I can attempt in a different way at a different time. Got the super old hammer and dolly set. Don't have a lot of experience with this, but I'm gonna give it a shot. And yeah, so the goal is to try and make this trim match my form. And then again, I've got the marks set at the 24-inch mark, so extending down. I'll clean up this trim when I've got it bent into a better shape, but I'm gonna go at it with the hammer, and if I come up with some kind of a technique that I don't look foolish, I'll probably set up the tripod and show you what I'm doing. Bring you back. Okay, so just bringing you back for a quick clip. I'm messing around with using some straps, using some clamps. Went and bought a piece of walnut and shaved it down. So I'm hammering along this edge, hammering along this edge, making a little bit of progress, working my way up. Although the damage was in that region, it extended further down and up. And I'm just taking my time and, you know, just working my way up, and hopefully I can get it to fit against this form. Not a fast process, a lot of little hits rather than big hits. And I'm gonna try and whip this thing into submission. So I don't know, it's been a couple hours messing around with it, and I'll bring you back when I made a little bit more progress. And I've got a variety of hammers, dollies, and tools, so I'll bring you back. Okay, so bringing you back for another quick update. I found it slow process trying to bang this shape in, and really wanted to hit along these edges, but that would obviously crush them like I've got going on here. I got to open this back up. So I found something I can make a shim out of, and I'm jamming that into into one side. Not sure I can do this one-handed, but you probably get the idea. It's about the right thickness, and then you have to take my word for it. So I'm jamming this into one side over here, and that allows me to hammer along this edge, and then eventually I'm going to do the same over here. And I think I'm going to use that technique even in the areas that are a little bit more well formed. I'm getting there, just working my way up. Long process, but yeah, so I wanted to point out the shim technique, and I'll bring it back when I got something better to show you. Okay, I don't know, 6 hours in, and I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing so far. Um, Matching the curvature pretty good, and managed to maintain, the space for the trim piece that goes in there. I think this will look better after some filing and some sanding. So I think I might hit this with a palm sander just to make myself feel better and come at this again with some fresh mind and fresh muscles. I'm pretty tired, but so far so good. And I think I'll bring you back tomorrow. Okay, so bringing you back for another clip. So far so good. Made a little progress. Okay, so my mold, my form looks different than when you saw it. I've got a little bit of straightening to do here. And then the last time you saw this mold, this was squared off. I had it formed around this edge, and I'm pretty pleased with how that went. I thought when I unscrewed it, I thought there was going to be quite a bit of spring back, but as it turned out, there was almost none or little to none spring back. But there was a little section up here that I had kind of wished I had made the mold longer because it was a little tweaked up here. So then I started screwing around with cutting this edge off and turning the mold, and it worked a little bit. But I now have the form off, and looks like my hose is leaking. What's that about? Anyway, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this, and then I'm gonna use this as an inside edge on this side. Previously, I'd been banging on it with the form on the inside of this curve, but now I'm gonna cut this and clean it up, and I'm gonna keep this part, and then and that's gonna match this curvature, and I'm gonna try and straighten this last section. And I can show you what I've got going here, but I don't think it's gonna show up. I don't think it's gonna show up in the video. I've got a problem, basically from here. I think I might be able to draw this better. So the form is kind of a 90 like that, and then it's got a couple of pieces like that, and that's what I want. That's what it used to be, but what I've really got now is I've got this kind of a thing going on, and so I need to be banging from the outside to try and get this hump down. So that's what I've got going on. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some time and effort into this mold and then show you what I'm gonna do, because my mold needs to be kind of cut away like this, so that I don't crush these. Maybe should have just drawn it in here. I need to have a mold that kind of looks like this, if that makes any sense. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this and then work on this, and I'm gonna use hopefully my router to cut these indentations, And I'm sure I'm just rambling. I'm sure this doesn't make any sense, but I'll bring you along in steps in the formation of this mold, and I'll bring it back, and hopefully by the end of this, it'll make sense. So I'll bring you back in another clip. This piece, I'm going to be using, I was probably going to screw this one down to this one, and I'm at a point where I'm going to cut a couple of rabbets in this guy. First this one, and then this one. So I've got this one measured out. I got myself a fancy cheap router bit set. So I know it was pretty cheap. It was like, I don't know, 30 bucks or something. And it came with cutters, rabbit cutters, and multiple, sorry, just killing mosquito on myself. Multiple cut, I think there was 4 different widths of cutter. And then it came with like, I don't know, 6 different bearing IDs. So the difference between this bearing and this cutter, that's just about what I want. And I used a pair of calipers. So this one's going to cut just slightly deeper than I want, and that's probably a good thing, a little clearance. So I'm going to run this over the top. I'm going to cut a router bit into here, and I might show you that after, or I might go ahead and route the bottom side before I bring you back. But that's what I'm up to, and I'll bring you back when I've got some details to show you. Okay, so bringing you back for another clip. You can see I've got 2 routed edges there, and I think that's going to work pretty well. Did one side and then the other. There's the router bit. I looked up the cost on this thing, and that is the best $18.99. I'm sorry, I laughed through that. $18.99 that I've spent in, at least 24 hours. Well done with that bit. Anyway, so this is the next step in making a mold to hammer the extrusion around. I'll bring you back when I got something more to show you. Okay, so here's the next setup. I've got the routed curved bit fastened down, and so now I can, and you can see I've just about got my marks lined up. So I'm going to be hammering around and trying to make that extrusion true again. So this is just going to be flat hammer, a lot of action. Maybe I'll set up a tripod so you can see what that's like. Embarrassing, but whatever. So this is the next step, and I'll bring you back. I feel like I'm bringing you back a little early for a clip, but once I got the forward and back clamp on, I've got this one super tight, and I got this one super loose. Then I'm going to start hammering this way, and I'm pretty pleased with this form, how it just mimicked the rabbits. The extrusion just kind of popped into place. Now I can spend some time trying to get all of this right there and a little bit more right there back in the right arc. So I was so pleased how that kind of popped into place. I thought I'd get the camera out and take another clip, and I'll bring you back when I made some more progress. I know this isn't exciting, but this is basically what I'm going to do for the next couple hours. I'm trying to get rid of that hump that I drew, trying to bring it into contour with this form. And then, of course, that changes the 90-degree angle that I have here. So at some point, I think I'm going to be clamping this to the form and then hammering down this 90-degree section flat. So anyway, I wanted to show you quickly what kind of hammering I was doing, and I do expect this to take 3 or 4 hours, so it's not fast. I think lighter hammer blows and gently moving material is probably the way to do it. Of course, don't follow me. I have zero experience on this, but it appears to be working, and it'll probably work for you if you've just got the tenacity to get after it. So let me bring you back when I've got something better to show you. Okay, so here's the next clip. I've been pretty good about getting rid of that bulge. Looks like I'm developing a little bit of a split here, so I have to make sure that that's sealed well when it's reinstalled. That won't be visible. It's matching my curvature pretty good, as you can see, but there is some spring back. So I'm going to try something. I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea. This particle board has just about served its duty and run its course. So I think I'm going to try and anneal this aluminum. I think it's been work hardened pretty well. So I'm going to run some Sharpie along a lot of this surface, and then I'm going to hit it with the propane torch. And once that Sharpie, if I can get it warm enough, I'm not sure I can with this kind of a propane cylinder. I have 2 of them. But once the Sharpie has disappeared, then the aluminum will have been annealed to some extent, and I might choose to hit it a few more times. I think it's going to help maintain this angle without spring back after I do that. So I'm going to give that a shot and see what happens. Bring you back. Okay, so whatever annealing process I was able to achieve, I've completed that task. You can see the Sharpie has dulled somewhat, which is kind of what I was looking for, expected. But ultimately, I kept heating sections until I felt like the particle board was going to catch on fire, and I called that a day. So there's a little section up here that I think I'm going to try and rotate this around. But I think it's time to pull it off this rack and take a look at what damage I may have done to the other side and see about doing any kind of repair possible on that. So let me bring it back. All right, pretty pleased with that. I've got all the clamps off of it, and I'm going to call that annealing, or whatever I was able to do to it, a positive step, as it is not clamped and it meets that curve pretty well without any spring back. So I'm going to call that a win. And again, it's just a quick clip, and I need to find myself a fly swatter. I got to get that guy. Well, sorry everybody. Editing is getting long again. So this is the end of part 2. So that's the end of the reforming of the damaged trim. And all we have left is the refinishing and reinstallation. So sorry to do this to you. It's going to be 3 parts. I hope you learned something, because I know I did. So until the next episode in this 3-part series of the roof repair, bye.